Thank you. Good morning, all. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item for discussion is the agenda for today's meeting. Is there any discussion regarding the agenda for today's meeting? Dustin moves approval of the meeting agenda as presented. All those in favor? Carried. Now we'll discuss the minutes from the March 11th, 2025 meeting. Any discussion regarding that? Dan moves approval of the minutes from the March 11th, 2025 Municipal Planning Commission meeting as presented. All those in favor? Carried. So this morning, first application for consideration will be Ward 9 Move-In and Manufactured Home Development Permit 25135. Ian Mabin here to speak to his application. Would you take one of the chairs up front, please, Mr. Mabin? So there's a button on the console in front of you that when you're requested to speak, you can just press that button once. It'll change color, and then we'll be able to hear you, and everyone else will as well. So again, this is development application 2509. Go ahead, Becky.
Just a correction, Mr. Chairman. This is development permit 24/135. And this is a revision that we're requesting to a previous permit. So the previous proposal was to place a 1,120 square foot manufactured home with a front setback variance of 1.8 meters or 6 feet and a variance of 4.8 meters or 16 feet for the rear setback. The proposal today, which the revisions are marked in red on the agenda package, is to place a previously owned 1,216 square foot manufactured home with a front setback variance of 1.8 meters or 6 feet and a setback relaxation of 5.8 meters or 19 feet from the rear property line and demolish the existing garage. So this is in Ward 9, and it's to move on a manufactured home, and the owner applicant is Ian Mabin. This is located at Plan 200 AJ, Block 14, which is 121 McGregor Avenue in Suffield. The property size is 598.8 meters squared, and the current land use district is Hamlet Residential. On August 13th, 2024, the Municipal Planning Commission approved development permit 24135 to place a manufactured home with the front and rear setback variances. Since that time, the applicant has purchased a previously owned manufactured home. However, it ended up being slightly larger than what was originally planned. This results in a revision to development permit 24135 being required. While the previously proposed front setback distance of 5.8 meters or 19 feet will be maintained, the applicant is proposing a rear setback distance of 1.8 meters or 6 feet. This results in a greater relaxation request, which is 5.8 meters or 19 feet, than what the Municipal Planning Commission previously approved. In addition, the applicant has confirmed that the existing garage located on the property will be demolished prior to the new home being moved onto the property. Therefore, the demolition has been added to the proposal. Being that a variance is being requested and the original conditions of approval are proposed to be varied, should the MPC approve the request, it will be subject to appeal. Mr. Chairman, if you'd like me to read the report from August, please let me know, but I was going to jump ahead to the recommendation, which is approval, and I've noted some changes to the condition. I've requested to remove condition number 10, which has been supplied by the applicant. It was for the CSA number of the home. And number 15 is proposed to be changed to setback relaxation of 5.8 meters or 19 feet from the rear property line for the proposed move on manufactured home. If you'd like me to review any more further of the report, please let me know, but I do have some new pictures for you. So we are on the property looking west. That is the existing structure on the property. And you can see the applicant has staked out the area of the new home. And we're just looking north on the property. And toward the east. Again, east, but just from the other side. And just another view of the property looking to the south. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Becky. First, does anybody require more information Becky alluded to? Are we all good with that? Okay. Mr. Maben, would you like to speak to your application at this time?
No, I really don't have anything to say, to be honest.
Okay. Open the floor to discussion.
That existing garage will be gone probably today or tomorrow. They're out there now, so
Okay.
the sewer and water and excavating a bit, so.
Okay.
I'll move to accept that. I don't see anything wrong with this stand. Oh, sorry, thought it was on. I'll move to approve it. I don't see anything out of the ordinary on this that we haven't done before. And I don't see a problem with it.
Okay. All right, then further discussion. Lloyd moves approval of development permit 24/135 as presented with amendments. All those in favor? Carried. So your development permit has been approved, subject to meeting the conditions which were previously discussed. The county will mail you a copy of your development permit. There's now a, since this is a discretionary use, there's now a 3-week appeal period that the public may appeal the issuance of this permit. The permit will be advertised in Cypress Courier newspaper for a duration of 3 consecutive weeks. If no appeal is filed within the 21-day period, the permit will become valid at that time. If you have any further questions, you can contact the development officer to discuss them after the meeting today. Thank you, Mr. Maven.
Thank you very much.
Next for consideration, development application 2509. Mr. Blackman, would you?
It's okay, we all have Pat here.
Okay, once again, 2509. And Becky, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the proposal is to erect a 10 by 24 freestanding electronic advertising sign. This is, the owner of the property, is Brian and Elaine Veenendahl, and the applicant is Len Blackman. This is located at Northeast 212.5 west of the 4th, which is 270 5th Street in Dunmore. Property size is 1.12 acres, and it is zoned Hamlet Commercial District. If you recall, this application was brought forward to the last meeting, so I'm just providing you an update. On March 11, 2025, the Municipal Planning Commission postponed development permit application 2509 to erect a 10 by 24 freestanding electronic display sign within the hamlet of Dunmore. Since the postponement, the applicant has provided the following points of clarification for the board. Number 1, the sign will not be angled to the south, but will be placed facing east only. The viewing angle of the sign is 120 degrees. However, this just means that it is visible at 120 degrees, but will not project the same brightness at the 120 degrees. The center of the sign will be the brightest, as that is how the LEDs are focused. Number 2, after consulting with the property owners across the highway from the proposed location, the applicant is committed to turn the sign off from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. daily to alleviate any concerns with nuisance toward the residential properties. Number 3, the sign is equipped with an ambient lighting controller that auto-dims the sign during different lighting conditions throughout the day. In addition, the nit level can be set to meet different requirements as necessary. And number 4, the applicant has supplied a drawing that indicates the distance from the proposed sign location to each residence across the highway. The drawing also indicates the angle at which each resident sits from the sign's projection, keeping in mind that the brightest point of the sign is at center, and the sign will be pointing directly east. According to this drawing, the closest residence sits at 160 feet. However, it should be noticed that it is essentially 180 degrees from the sign, potentially outside of the sign's projection. And number 5, the applicant has supplied letters of support, and an aerial has been attached indicating where the letters originated from. So I don't know if Ingrid has that handy to put up. In addition to the above, administration has the following information to add. There are 2 other electronic display signs in the hamlet of Dunmore. One is located at Blondie's Greenhouse, approximately 1.9 kilometers west, and is 30 by 14 feet, which is 420 square feet in size, and was applied for and installed by the applicant back in 2013. The second sign is located at Prairie Rose School Division, approximately 480 kilometers west, and is 200 square feet in size. Both of these signs are slightly angled toward the highway, where the proposed sign will be faced directly east and parallel to the highway. As part of the agenda package, we have included for your review the following documentation: the recommended practices for electronic message signs from the Government of Alberta. I have some additional pictures to share with you. And under the recommendation section of this report, we have proposed additional conditions to help mitigate further concerns should the board choose to approve the application. So if we can just go to the next one, Ingrid. Thanks. So I did take some pictures from the sign location, looking east, showing you the residences across the highway that could potentially be affected by the sign. This is looking directly south across the highway. I guess I'm more southeast. And then I think I have some pictures of some of the other signs. So this is the electronic display sign located at Blondie's. So this is 30 by 14 in size. Same picture. And then this is the other one that is 10 by 20 in size next door. So I'll just go over the condition options that we provided. So these are just options for the board if you choose to add them on if you like. The developer is responsible to provide Cypress County with the name and telephone contact for the person having access to the technology controls of the sign, who can be contacted 24 hours a day in case of sign malfunctions. Number 2, if any component of the sign fails or malfunctions such that the sign is no longer operating in compliance with the development permit, the developer must ensure that the sign is turned off until all components are fixed and operating in compliance. And number 3, subject to the hours of operation for the sign to be 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Daily. And that is my report, Mr. Chairman. If you'd like me to review anything from the last meeting or the rest of the report, please let me know.
Thank you, Becky. Does anybody on the Planning Commission request or require any further information from the last application, or are we all aware? Go ahead. Bill?
At the last meeting, I had some concerns regarding the application, and I'd just like to go through a couple of things that I feel are important. The first thing is that I think that the placement of the sign is in an inappropriate area. I drive by the other 2 signs on a regular basis and know how much light they put off. I think with all the properties that are east and west of Dunmore, there would be certainly a more suitable location for the sign away from the residential areas. I do understand that there were 3 letters of people that said, well, they're not going to bother me, and again, I drive by these signs on a regular basis, and I'd say in the summertime, inconvenience of the signs would be minimal, but in the wintertime, having them on till 11 o'clock at night, I think would be very objectionable. I have spoken to a couple of residents that live in Dunmore, and they're all concerned about, okay, this is another sign. Where's it going to stop? Everybody agrees that the sign at Blondie's is in fact, doesn't really bother anybody. The one at the school division, it somewhat bothers people in Dunmore. So I am opposed to this being placed at this location, and I guess that's basically it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Blackman, would you like to speak to your application at this time? Press the button, there you go.
Yeah, that'd be great if I could address that. This sign, I don't think could be really compared to the one at Prairie Rose that's just kind of down the block here, or actually just 100 meters away or so. Just for the fact that it's angled towards residential lots. I could see the concern there too. My sign is going to be facing due east. There's going to be minimal light influence with neighboring residences on the other side of the road on Eagle Butte Avenue, I believe. I went one step further as well, just to make sure that there was, I contacted technical support who builds the signs to see if I could actually further reduce the luminance of the sign up until it actually is dark and then it shuts off, and I can. So I want to make that point that the sign can actually be reduced luminance value-wise, nit value, I guess the technical term would be called. And I don't want to be any kind of a nuisance to anybody. And the reason I chose that location too, because it was safer than putting it more east towards the intersection. I wanted to be as far away from the intersection as I could, just for safety reasons. I mean, I run a pretty good track record for being safe with these, you know, by installing proper dimmers, making sure that I'm compliant to any and every issue that might come forward towards these types of applications, and anybody that has concerns. In fact, I help the city of Medicine write all their LED city bylaws, you know, just to give my input, because it's not that I'm a nerd for the technical part of it, but I do understand how they work, and that's why I've made sure that there's proper diligence put into it in way of making sure the nit values are correct, making sure there's no light pollution. I have a sign on the outdoorsman that shuts down in the early hours too, just to be courteous to neighbors and have less light pollution that would be, you know, hindering their sleep, what have you there. So I just, I wanted to be safe with it. I wanted to be compliant with it. And just to show the community that I did care. And I was still waiting for a couple other people for letters of support. But it didn't sound like anybody had real opposition once I started talking about the fact that I'm going to have it shut off at a certain time, come on at a certain time, and reduce the amount of nit value, luminance, that it would have up until the point of being dark. I guess, does anybody have any questions about what I just said?
No. Would, first of all, if it would be applicable, would you be opposed to an annual review on it?
An annual review?
Right.
No problem at all. In fact, that's what I do with the city of Medicine every 3 years. Yeah. I don't have an issue with it because I know that I'm in compliance. Of course, there's other signs out there that are, and I'm not just trying to inflate myself, I make sure that I'm going to conduct myself accordingly. So there's others out there that make it look bad for companies like myself who actually do care. So.
Anyone else? Nigel?
It was stated that basically the sign is cut off at 120 degrees, is that correct?
That's correct.
At that 120 degrees, do you have any idea what percentage of it you'd be seeing compared to straight on?
Well, at 120 degrees, anybody to the immediate right that would be affected for the avenue, luminance is I think it's reduced by 50%. So I mean and then that's not even including me reducing that nit value, luminance, brightness level, even further. So I'm quite confident that's why I don't have an issue with it being subject to reviews and you know, I don't have any issue with any of that at all. It's just courtesy.
Dustin?
I guess through the chair to the planner, if we were to approve with that yearly review, question one, if it came up in a year and it was we found it to be non-compliance that would have to be removed would be the one question, or if we found that there was no issues with it, do we extend the value of that yearly review, or do we have to leave it at a year?
Yeah, through the chair. So in the past, annual review, can't speak, that's not good. What annual review triggers is that every year we review that listing, determine if we've had any complaints over the last year. We do a site inspection, see how things are going. If there has been numerous concerns, then typically we would bring that application back to Municipal Planning Commission to maybe put on more conditions or whatever the board feels would satisfy any concerns. It doesn't necessarily make the permit expire. We don't issue new permit. It just triggers us to check on that application or that use.
Yeah, I would admit I was, not necessarily in favor of this application, but the reduction of the hours certainly sits more favorably with me. Dustin, go ahead.
I'll move with the added conditions and the annual review.
Okay, so all of the conditions, optional conditions as presented?
Yes. And then with the addition of the annual review.
Okay. Everybody clear on that? I'll pose a question. All in favor with development application 2509 with amendments and as presented? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Your development permit has been approved, subject to meeting the conditions which were previously discussed. The county will mail you a copy of your development permit. Since this is a discretionary use, there's now a 3-week appeal period that the public may appeal the issuance of this permit. The development permit will be advertised in the Cypress Courier newspaper for a duration of 3 consecutive weeks. If no appeal is filed within the 21-day period, the permit will become valid at that time. If you have any further questions, you can talk to Becky or one of the other staff members after today's meeting.
Great, thank you.
So next on the agenda is development permits 25/20, and then we will also deal with 25/27. Is there a member in the audience to speak to that application, or are we online with that?
Mr. Chairman, they have not arrived as of yet.
Okay. So that one's scheduled for 11. So we have some time. Let's seeing. I think everyone's here for the Schottners. Is all your representatives here? Do you folks want to take the seats up front? We're going to bump up to subdivision application 25CY03. Again, this is subdivision application 25CY03. Go ahead, Becky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the proposal is to subdivide a 2.65 hectare parcel from a previously subdivided quarter section to create a separate title. The owner is Tim and Anna Schottner, and the applicant is Monroe Surveys. This is located at Southwest 2212-6 west of the 4th. The application is intended to subdivide a 2.65 hectare or 6.5 acre parcel from a previously subdivided quarter section for the purposes of creating a separate title. The remainder of the agricultural title contains irrigated cropland as well as dryland pasture and is 26.4 hectares or 65.46 acres in size. There are no oil or gas wells within a 100-meter radius of the proposed subdivision. The property is located along Range Road 63, approximately 1.1 kilometers south of Highway 523, and borders the City of Medicine Hat boundary. There is an established yard site located to the east of the proposed subdivision, which gains direct access to Range Road 63 from an existing approach. There does not appear to be an access approach to the proposed parcel. If the application were to be approved, the Municipal Planning Commission may need to consider the installation of an access approach as a subdivision approval condition. In addition, the remnant agricultural parcel contains water rights provided through the St. Mary's River Irrigation District. However, the proposed parcel is not currently being irrigated, therefore the irrigable acres on the site are not anticipated to be impacted. The proposed lot layout accommodates the subdivision density requirements in the potential growth area of the Tri-Area Intermunicipal Development Plan. Additionally, there are established greenhouses located approximately 320 meters to the north and approximately 800 meters to the south. The Cypress County Council recently approved a land use rezoning to country residential limited district to allow the subdivision to be in compliance with the municipal development plan policies. The subdivision will result in the final title to be taken out of the quarter section under the current potential growth area policies of the Tri-Area Intermunicipal Development Plan. The South Saskatchewan Regional Plan states that municipalities are to identify their agricultural land and to limit fragmentation and conversion to non-agricultural uses. Under the implementation section of the plan, Section 5, Efficient Use of Land, it states that the land use framework promotes approaches to reduce the amount of land that is taken up by permanent or long-term development by utilizing the minimum amount of land necessary. Section 666 of the Municipal Government Act states that a subdivision authority may require the owner of a parcel of land that is the subject of a proposed subdivision to provide reserve. Money in place of municipal reserve is recommended on the proposed subdivided parcel. Part 2.9, Road Access of the Subdivision Regulations of the Municipal Government Act states that every proposed subdivision must provide direct access to a road or lawful means of access satisfactory to the subdivision authority to each lot that is created. Part 14, Distance from a Highway, states that a subdivision authority shall not, in a municipality other than a city, approve an application for subdivision if the land is within 1.6 kilometers of the center line of a highway right-of-way, unless the land is contained within an area structure plan and the proposed use of land is permitted under that plan. Section 2.6, Potential Growth Area of the Tri-Area Intermunicipal Development Plan, states that the county wishes to retain the rural nature of its ratepayers and believes that serviced residential development outside existing hamlet boundaries becomes more costly and difficult to administer and maintain. The county has a limited capacity to provide an urban level of water and sewer services to the IDP area and its other hamlets. The city has made long-term servicing decisions, establishing an internal trunk servicing pattern that is intended to service future city development in accordance with its municipal development plan. The IDP recognizes that it is in the interests of both the city and the county to retain large parcel sizes for agricultural purposes. In Section 2.6.2 Potential Growth Area Policies, it states, continued agricultural and agricultural support uses within the potential growth area are preferred. Uses other than agricultural or agricultural support uses should not be allowed unless they are an existing use or the expansion of an existing use prior to the adoption of the IDP. Parcels located within the potential growth area of the IDP may be considered by the county for a land use bylaw amendment and subdivision approval for limited country residential use. The cumulative area of subdivision shall not exceed 10% of the area of the original parcel to be subdivided as it existed prior to the adoption of this IDP. In order to be eligible for further subdivision into limited country residential lots, an unsubdivided parcel must be greater than 16.18 hectares or 40 acres in size. Subdivision of a parcel 40 acres or less for limited country residential shall not be permitted. And limited country residential shall not be permitted on irrigated land. Section 4.1.24 subdivision tri-area IDP of the Municipal Development Plan states that the county shall follow all applicable policies within the tri-area IDP related to subdivision for the lands within the IDP boundary. And utility easements may be required between the proposed parcel and the remainder of the agricultural title. So we did circulate this application. Cypress County Finances replied that there is a West Side Water Co-op license associated with the property. Therefore, if the property is subdivided, the county will require notification as to which property the license is to remain with. Number 2, I had Public Works, but they did provide me something late Friday. So it says that the proposed subdivision will need a new access approach constructed. And our 7 persons regional water line is on the east side of Range Road 63. As long as they're not doing any work in the road allowance, there's no conflicts or comments. Apex replied that they have no objections to the proposed subdivision. Fortis Alberta replied that they have reviewed the plan and it does not fall within their service territory, therefore they have no objection and no easement is required. TELUS replied they have no concern with the proposed activities. St. Mary's River Irrigation District requires that the following conditions are met. If the proposed subdivided lot wishes to use water from the district for the yard site, a household purposes agreement must be signed with the district prior to any water use. Permanent irrigation acres will remain on the main parcel. All works, easements, etc. involved to provide water to the proposed subdivision will be at the landowner's expense. In order for SMERD to execute the consent to register subdivision, any outstanding balances owed by the applicant will need to be paid in full. No comments were received from the West Side Water Co-op at the time of writing this report. City of Medicine Hat Electric replied with information outlining requirements for any work in proximity to their infrastructure, maintaining access to infrastructure, and requirements for landscaping in the vicinity of electric utility infrastructure. The information has been forwarded to the applicant. The town of Red Cliff replied that they have reviewed the proposed subdivision and offers no comments. City of Medicine Hat replied they have no issues. Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors replied that the requirements of both Section 18 and 19 are not met. However, the department anticipates minimal impact on the highway as well as there is no direct access to the highway. Therefore, ATEC grants approval for the subdivision authority to vary the requirements of Section 18 and 19 of the regulation. ATEC is undertaking a functional planning study for Highway 3 twinning east of Highway 8852 to Medicine Hat. The above mentioned lands could be impacted by the planning study. And the Cypress County Assessor provided a market value assessment rate of $23,391.20 per hectare for money in place of municipal reserve purposes. So before I get to my recommendation, I actually, Kayleen and I did go out and take some pictures. Just a couple, just to give you an idea. It looks like, so here we are looking west, essentially from the existing yard site at the proposed subdivision area. Range Road 63 is off in the distance. Just a little bit closer view, Range Road 63 and the proposed parcel. I think I just gave you one more. Is that it, Ingrid? One more closer one. Oops. So our recommendation is that MPC move to approve subdivision 25 CY03 subject to the following conditions. Number one, the developer is required to make a payment to the county for money in place of municipal reserve for 2.65 hectares at a rate of $2,339.12 per hectare, being 10% of the appraised market value of $23,391.20 per hectare. The payment is to be submitted to the county prior to the subdivision's registration with Alberta Land Titles. Number two, it is the developer's responsibility to enter into any necessary agreements with St. Mary's River Irrigation District for the supply of water to the proposed subdivision and the remnant parcel. The developer will be required to provide written evidence that the requirements of SMERD have been satisfied prior to the subdivision's registration with Alberta Land Titles. Number three, the developer is required to provide Cypress County Finances with written notification if the intent is to transfer the local improvement tax for West Side Water Co-op to the subdivided parcel prior to the subdivision's registration with Alberta Land Titles. It is the developer's responsibility to ensure that all necessary agreements are executed with the West Side Water Co-op. Number four, the developer is required to enter into a municipal services agreement with the county for the construction of an access approach from Range Road 63 to the subdivided parcel. The municipal services agreement is to be executed and registered in conjunction with the subdivision's registration with Alberta Land Titles. And number five, the developer is required to supply copies of any utility right-of-way plans, easements, and/or agreements which are to be registered as a requirement for any affected utilities to Cypress County prior to the subdivision's registration with Alberta Land Titles. And that is my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Becky. Would the applicants like to speak to their proposal at this point?
Yeah, everything's covered. We're ready for questions or comments, please.
Okay. Open the floor to discussion. Planning Commission? I have one quick one. There were never water rights on this portion?
Yeah, that's correct. There was never any water rights for that land.
Okay. Go ahead, Dan.
I'll move with the conditions that are on there.
All right. So Dan moves approval of subdivision application 25 CY03 with conditions as presented. All those in favor? Carried. So your subdivision has been approved. Subject to meeting the conditions which were previously discussed, the county will mail you a copy of your subdivision approval. You're advised to begin working towards completing the necessary conditions and making arrangements to have the subdivided area surveyed if you have not already done so. You have 1 year from the subdivision's approval date to have met all of the approval conditions and to have the survey plan submitted to Alberta Land Titles by your surveyor for the registration of the separate title. If you have any further questions, you may contact the planner after today's meeting to discuss them. Thank you.
Through the chair,
Yep.
may I make a request for a short recess?
Absolutely. We will recess for 5 minutes. Do we have our representatives for application 2520 through 27 online?
Yes, we do have
we have a-
Mr. Henry online.
Okay, and a representative in-house. Okay, good. Okay, before we get going, can you please introduce yourself? Could you please just introduce yourself? I don't think your name's on here.
Red light is on, right?
Yep.
Okay. My name is Jennifer Trachel. I'm with Ascent Energy Partners, and Ascent overall is the Alberta, I guess, developer on behalf of the project. My role has been the planning and approvals, permitting with the AUC, and my colleague, Mr. Henry, is online.
Thank you very much. Okay, so again, this is development applications 2520 through 2527. Go ahead, Becky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The proposal is to construct and operate a solar facility, including the construction of a substation, multiple temporary laydown yards, and an expansion to the adjacent quarter section. This is located in Ward 4, and as you said, development permits 2520 to 2527 inclusive. The applicant is Dunmore Solar, Inc., and the land use district for all of the properties is Agricultural District 2. Dunmore Solar, Inc. is requesting approval from the Municipal Planning Commission to construct and operate a solar facility. The project includes placement of solar arrays and the construction of a substation. The proposed location is approximately 10 kilometers northeast of the hamlet of Dunmore, east of Highway 41 along Township Road 130. The Dunmore Solar Project is a 216 megawatt alternating current solar project utilizing a single-axis tracker layout. The on-site equipment will consist of approximately 447,360 photovoltaic modules and single-axis tracking system, 54 inverter or transformer stations, an underground collector system, internal access roads, multiple temporary laydown yards, and a perimeter fence. The proposed facility will connect to an existing AltaLink transmission line located between the Bowmanton and Bull's Head substations. The selected solar panels will have anti-reflective coating as per AUC approval. In 2022, the Municipal Planning Commission approved development permit 21262 and 21263 for the construction of this proposed solar facility. In addition, a time extension was granted in 2024 by the Municipal Planning Commission. Since the original approval, there have been amendments to the project relating to layout and equipment, and more recently, an expansion of the project onto adjacent lands. It was at this point that Cypress County required that rather than another time extension, a whole new application be submitted for consideration. During the last couple of years, Dunmore Solar has continued to advance the project by completing updates to the power plant layout, equipment, vendor procurement, environmental update surveys and documentation, glare hazard impact assessment update, noise impact assessment update, and participant involvement program. Water Act approval has been received for the original approved area and will be submitted for the expansion area. In addition, Dunmore Solar also has completed numerous approval conditions from Development Permit 21262 and 21263, including the implementation of a road use agreement with Cypress County Public Works. Dunmore Solar conducted an updated solar glare analysis report in respect of the project. The report concluded that the project is not expected to present a hazard to drivers along nearby roads or have adverse effect on a resident's use of their home. As such, mitigation has not been proposed or recommended. A noise impact assessment was also completed in June of 2024, and it was concluded that the project will meet the requirements of AUC Rule 12. Dunmore Solar received approval from the Alberta Utilities Commission for the power plant and substation amendments, including the expansion, on October 24th of 2024. I'll just jump to, there is a chart in there for you that has the lands that they're on, but I'll jump to the reference to legislation. In the Land Use Bylaw 2022-09, under the Agricultural District 2, it states that solar energy commercial is considered a Class 2 discretionary use. Section 12.21 solar energy commercial states the following. Applicants may submit development permit applications prior to receiving approval from the appropriate provincial or federal agencies. However, the Development Authority shall not approve any development permit application for a commercial solar energy facility until such approvals have been obtained from the applicable provincial or federal agencies. A development permit will be required for all commercial solar energy production facilities that are intended to generate electricity which is to be sold and transmitted into an electrical distribution system for commercial sale. Commercial solar energy production facilities shall be considered within the agricultural districts and industrial district as a Class 2 discretionary use. The applicant shall be responsible to obtain the necessary approvals from both the Alberta Utilities Commission as well as the Commercial Electric Distribution Company and provide copies of the approval documents as part of the development approval. The applicant shall be responsible to obtain the necessary inspections and commercial approvals from an authorized inspection agency under the Alberta Safety Codes Act as required for any of the equipment or infrastructure associated with the solar energy facility. All equipment and infrastructure associated with a commercial solar energy facility must comply with those setbacks specified in the land use district in which the commercial solar energy facility is located. When a commercial solar energy facility is decommissioned, the landowner will be required to return the solar energy facility location to the same land capability and quality as it was prior to the installation of any of the solar energy equipment. As part of the development application process, the Development Authority will ask the applicant to submit a detailed decommissioning plan to support the development application. And a development permit application shall require as a condition of approval that the developer of a solar facility commercial enter into a road use agreement between the county and the developer. So we did circulate the application, and Cypress County Public Works replied that the current road use agreement will be required to be modified and additional security provided if Township Road 124 and Range Road 43 are being used. In addition, road approach permits will be required to be applied for. No comments were received from the City of Medicine Hat or the Town of Red Cliff at the time of writing this report. Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors replied that the proposed development falls within the permit area of a provincial highway as outlined in the Highways Development and Protection Act or regulation. The proposed development, however, will not cause any concern for ongoing highway operation or future expansion. Transportation and Economic Corridors therefore issues an exemption from the permit requirements for the development listed above, pursuant to Section 25 of the Highways Development and Protection Regulation. So I did go get some pictures. So this is looking east on Township Road 124 with subject lands to the left. This is looking northeast, so we're actually sitting in the southwest corner of the full project area. This is looking north down the undeveloped road allowance from the same spot. So this is now on at the northwest corner of the project, looking southwest from Township Road 130. And this is southeast, looking down that same road allowance. It's looking south. Southwest from Township Road 130. Just a lot of land pictures. So that takes me to my recommendation. And just before I get into it, I just want to note that we will require 8 separate motions from the board for each development permit application. So our recommendation is that MPC approve development permit applications 2520 to 2527 inclusive, subject to the following conditions and with the understanding the facility will be constructed and operated as outlined in the submitted application. Any changes must be submitted for approval by the Development Officer or Municipal Planning Commission. So to save you a little bit of listening, 1 through 8 are standard conditions. By all means, if you want me to read them, I can. Jumping to number 9, all solar panels and related infrastructure are required to be set back a minimum of distance of 40 meters or 130 feet from the center of all county roads and must follow all other minimum setback requirements in the current land use bylaw. The developer or applicant is required to submit a final surveyed plan to the county to ensure compliance with this condition prior to commencement. Number 10, upon decommissioning of the project, a copy of the reclamation certificate application is to be submitted to the development officer. Number 11, the developer is required to submit an engineer's designed stormwater management plan to accommodate a 1 in 100 year event for the entire development area. The stormwater management plan is to be submitted and approved by Cypress County prior to commencement. Number 12, subject to the developer submitting an emergency response plan for approval by Cypress County prior to commencement. Number 13, the developer is required to submit a road accommodation plan. And the plan is to be submitted and approved by Cypress County Public Works prior to commencement. 14, the developer is required to execute an updated road use agreement with Cypress County to include the expansion area and any additional roads and be in compliance with the terms of the agreement to protect Cypress County road infrastructure. The road use agreement is to be executed with Cypress County prior to any loads being hauled on site or any works to enter or upgrade the county road right-of-way. As a requirement of the road use agreement, the developer will be required to provide security to ensure that the developer meets the obligations under the agreement. Number 15, subject to a water supply for fire suppression to remain on site at all times during the construction of the project. Number 16, the developer must report to Cypress County if the facility needs to be offline for a period exceeding 6 months. The Municipal Planning Commission will review the report to determine if the facility will be considered online or whether the facility or portions of must be considered for remediation. And that is my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Becky. Ms. Stryker, would you like to speak to the application, or have we covered it all?
I think it was mostly covered. I just wanted to acknowledge condition 9 there, 40 meters from the center of county roads and all other setbacks. So the redesign and the amendment captures all those setbacks from adjacent property lines from county roads. So we aren't asking for any exemptions for those items. Other than that, I have no additional comments, but I wanted to thank this Planning Commission and also the Development Office for the engagement that we've had since the start of this project. We feel that it's been positive and productive, so thank you.
Thank you. I'll open the floor to discussion before we consider the applications. Go ahead, Bill.
My question may not have any, I don't know. Are there any yard sites or residential properties in the proximity of this site?
There is a, like a granary, like a bin loading site within the project that belongs to one of the host landowners. And there are 2 residences within the 800-meter radius. One is on the northeast sort of extremity of the project, and one is on the southwest part. And those folks have been part of our consultation program. Is that what you're asking? Or were you asking about farther out as well?
Those in close proximity.
Okay.
Okay, I guess, are we ready to, any further discussion, or are we ready to address each application? Okay, Dustin moves approval of 25/20 with conditions as presented. All those in favor? Carried. Nigel, do you want to do 20? Nigel moves approval of 25/21 with conditions as presented. All those in favor? Carried. Bill moves approval of 25/22 with conditions as presented. All those in favor? Carried. Dan moves approval of 25/23. All those in favor? Carried. Lloyd moves approval of 25/24. All those in favor? Carried. Dustin moves approval of 25/25. All those in favor? Carried. Nigel moves approval of 25/26. All those in favor? Carried. Bill moves approval of 25/27. All those in favor? Carried. So your development permit has been approved, subject to meeting the conditions of which were previously discussed. The county will mail you a copy of your development permit. Since this is a discretionary use, there's a 3-week appeal period that the public may appeal the issuance of this permit. The development permit will be advertised in the Cypress Courier newspaper for a duration of 3 consecutive weeks. If no appeal is filed within the 21-day period, the permits will become valid at that time. If you have any further questions, you may contact the development officer to discuss them after today's meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the planner's report.
Thank you through the chair. The planner's report is attached for your information. I'm happy to take any questions. It is a little bit shorter than usual. We've certainly been busy just with kind of ongoing projects, and we've had a uptick in both development applications and subdivision applications coming in. So yeah, I've been pretty busy over the last month or so.
Good. Any questions? Motions? Oh, the question, yeah, the tribunal. Thank you for reminding me of that. So the tribunal heard the appeal of any, and I would assume there's no results as of yet.
No, Mr. Chairman, no results as of yet. Likely when we hit the May Planning Commission agenda, we'll have an update for you at that time.
Okay. Any other discussion? Dan moves approval of the planner's report as presented. All those in favor? Carried. Next meeting, May 13th. I adjourn the meeting.